comes down to how much air and fuel can I pack in a cylinder is going to determine how much power I can make. The restriction isn't the manifold, it's the cats behind it, you know, the way they're made. Long tube headers, by far, is the only way to go. A shorty header, in my opinion, is a waste of money.
It's not worth the money. Okay.
You know, the whole idea behind a long tube header is to optimize the exhaust scavenging of every cylinder. How do you do that? You extend the length of the exhaust port by 30 inches, okay? And bring it into a collector where all 4 tubes exit. So now all 4 tubes are the same length, or very close to the same length, within a couple inches, just because of chassis constraints. But all of the header companies work toward is equal length primary tube header as they can. So if you got 4 30-inch tubes and they exit in a circle in the collector, every time a cylinder fires, picture it as a golf ball leaving the port. And behind that golf ball, there's a vortex, a low pressure area, that's going to draw the exhaust out of the other 3 ports. Okay? So every time that pressure wave leaves, behind that pressure wave, there's a negative area. And that draws from the other cylinders. That's what they call exhaust scavenging.
Okay. And you don't get that much exhaust scavenging with the shorties?
You can't.
If not...
You can't. You got one long pipe, the next one shorter, the next one shorter, the next one shorter.
Yeah.
You know, one of the header tubes is that long and one's that long. They're all going to leave at different times. They're not going to be evenly spaced.
Gotcha.
Okay? And they're not going to have the same velocity. So when all the tubes are the same length, they all have the same exhaust velocity, and they leave in an equally timed fashion. So it might only be milliseconds between the firings, but it's the same number of milliseconds between each firing. And they also group header tubes in different orientations depending on the firing order of the engine, so that it draws the exhaust from the other ports. You know, the piston has to push the exhaust out. The header actually creates the scavenging effect, which helps draw those spent exhaust gases out of the cylinder to make more room for more fresh air and more fresh fuel to fill that cylinder. So it all comes down to how much air and fuel can I pack in a cylinder is going to determine how much power I can make. That's where the forced induction comes in too. You know, we're forcing more air in the motor, so now we can burn more fuel.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, if you're jamming more air into that engine, having those long tubes is going to really pay off, right?
Oh, absolutely, because it's going to exhaust the motor better. It's going to free up any restriction. So, boost is a product of restriction.
Yep.
And everybody thinks that horsepower can be directly tied to a boost number. Well, it can on a certain year, model, make, engine, and so on. Okay, you can start to get a correlation. Okay, this motor with 5 pounds of boost makes X amount of power in most cases, but the boost number doesn't necessarily correlate to a specific horsepower number. It's going to be different for every combination. The boost is a product of restriction, so everything behind the supercharger is your restrictor. Your engine.
This is some knowledge dropping right here. I like this. All right.
Your cylinder head, your camshaft profile, and your exhaust system are all of the items that restrict the blower from pumping the air through it. Okay. We've had so many cases where my ZL1's a perfect example. It's a factory supercharged car. They typically make about 540 rear wheel, all stock on pump gas. I run mine on 100 octane. I recently just went through a series of testing and documented all that on video. It's on my Facebook page, Jannetti Racing. I tested it with 100 octane in it. I made 581, 560, and it was rich as hell. I tuned it, made 599 with 610 foot-pounds of torque. So I picked up like 50 foot-pounds.
Yeah, that's nice.
Because the throttle wasn't staying open, and that has to do with the calibration. Then I put headers on it. I picked up like another 40 horsepower from headers. Now I haven't changed a pulley yet. My boost went down, my power went up. Why did my boost go down? Because I got rid of the restriction, which is the exhaust manifold and the factory catalytic converters. The factory manifolds had a 2-inch outlet on them.
Yeah, that's not enough.
This is a factory 640 horse motor.
Yeah.
And why do they do that? To speed up heating up the cats. Okay? The federal emissions state that the catalytic converters have to heat up within a certain amount of time so that they become active.
Oh, gotcha.
So how do you do that? Well, you force the hot air through a small hole, and the heat backs up real quick, lights the cats off immediately. So, you know, we're in the performance market. We want our catalytic converters to work, so we use the Cook's Green Cats in that case.
They're high flow cats, right?
They're high flow, but they're very, very efficient.
A lot of people like the catless.
We're talking about $1,000 set of catalytic converters.
Okay.
They're not cheap.
Yeah.
Okay. They're expensive, but they're high quality. They're very efficient, and they do a good job of cleaning up the exhaust. I don't like a stinky car.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
But
All right, hang on.
I can go on and on.
I'll start it one more time before I give it to him. I want to make sure it's 100% before I give it to the guy.
Yeah.
You know, so it goes down the road like
This car, what year is this?
80. This is an 81.
81.
Previous Crossfire car.
Yeah. Oh, this had crossfire injection on it?
Yes.
No kidding.
Yeah, they converted this one over.
Converted
Put
to
a
a
nice
carburetor.
350 in there, huh?
Yeah. Tony just went through the carburetor, soup to nuts. Tony's a carburetor expert, and really good at calibrating them.
This thing is in mint shape. Is it restored or is this just really well kept?
It's a 16. It's got 63,000 miles on it, and he bought it from the original owner at 20.
So the original owner kept this in the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Which
is
the case for a
beautiful.
lot of Corvettes.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. This is a LSX 427 Denali with a Whipple 2.9. The Whipple's out getting rebuilt right now. I actually had a failure in the Supercharger, but this thing makes over 800 horsepower.
Whoa.
And it's a daily driver.
That's big time. Wow.
Yeah, he's put
This is a sleeper right here.
he put almost 40,000 miles on this. It's got 100 and I think it's 160,000 now.
800 horsepower, daily driven Denali. That's awesome. That's really cool. You got an 8-second car chilling here, huh?
Yeah, this is mine. It's a Transformers Edition 2010 Camaro. It's got a supercharged LME 427 in it with a ATI Pro Mod Power Glide, Dana 60 rear, all custom suspension with strange double adjustable shocks. It makes right around 1,300 horsepower and
1,300 wheel horsepower, right?
no, 1,100 wheel,
Okay.
1,300 crank. And,
An 8.9, man. That means you're
8.9 was before
you're
this.
crushing demons out there.
Yeah, it was before the this rebuild. This is a fresh build now. We made a lot of changes to it since that run. That was over 2 years ago now.
So with this current setup, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking it would go 850s pretty easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's insane. Obviously, you have the roll cage in there.
We had belt issues that kept us from going to the track, and I think we just got this resolved finally. We converted it from a cog drive to a 10-rib multi-V.
What kind of transmission do you have?
It's ATI Pro Mod Power Glide, 2-speed.
That's awesome. So when was the last time you had this bad boy out and at the track?
It's a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Originally, we built the car for a customer, and when we worked on the car for like four or 5 years, and it was just an evolution, constantly changing. It kept getting faster and faster and faster. And then, unfortunately, he fell ill, so he was in a bad way, and I tried to help him sell it, and just weren't getting the bites on it. I says, you know what? I'm just going to buy the car from you and help you out. You know, he'd run into financial difficulty because he fell ill, and I was, you know,
Are you still trying
proud
to
to be
sell
able
it,
to
or?
help him. You know, I'd like to sell it at some point, but it's a great conversation piece. You know, we put it on the dyno at our dyno day last year, and people went wild.
I'm sure.
Thing put down.
So with obviously, this looks like it has a chute coming out at the back. So when in drag racing, what is it when you hit the 8s? You have to have a chute in the back or something like that, or
$9.99 or quicker.
$9.99.
Yeah, or quicker.
The Dodge Demon doesn't have a chute, and that they're running 9.7s out there right now.
They're doing it illegally. Okay.
Okay.
$9.99 or quicker. A lot of rules kick into play. You need a full fire suit. You need an NHRA competition license. You need a neck brace. You need special fire boots, or a full cage, window net. Battery's got to be mounted in the trunk. You got to have a battery shutoff. You got to have a parachute. The cage has to be certified by NHRA. They actually X-ray the cage to make sure that it's safe.
Yeah.
Check all the welds and the position of the bars, and it has to be certified to run $9.99 or quicker. You know, and there's a lot of people, you know, going down the track faster than that, but it's unsafe. You know, this car has swing out door bars. Everything works in this car. Air conditioning, everything. I drive this car in the street. You know, we can use the factory seat belts for daily driving, and the race seat belts when we go to the track, and that's the window net that just hooks up in here. The bar can be removed, you know, if you're using a lot.
That's no joke.
It's got a drag radial on it.
What kind of tires are these?
That's a Mickey Thompson ET Street drag radial. That's a fairly old design now. They've come out with 2 or 3 different renditions of that since those were purchased.
Yes,
But that's a beadlock wheel. That's a real beadlock.
There's a lot of grip on there.